Hello and welcome to Trade Routes at PCB. This is your update for international trade, February 4th, 2025. My name is Gina Cruz and I'm your host for today. It has been a busy few days, hasn't it, ladies?
That is for sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Over the weekend, both U.S. and Canadian governments announced trade actions. Yesterday, all countries paused these trade actions, and many importers have questions on what to expect in the days to come. With these episodes of Trade Routes, we will be bringing in experts who can speak the topics at hand. Today, I'm here with three of PCB's leading minds in the world of international trade and seasoned experts in all their fields. For our Canadian operations, we have Taryn Hanna, who is our general manager, Gloria Terhar, who is our regulatory analyst, and on the U.S. operations side, we have Breanna Leininger, who is our vice president. Breanna, we're missing our regulatory analyst, Misty.
Yeah.
She will be to make an appearance in weeks to come.
Yeah, I'm hoping, I'm excited to see what her perspective is when she's back. She's just away, but she'll be joining us shortly.
She'll come back all rested and ready to share.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Taryn, Gloria, Breanna, hello and welcome to Trade Routes.
Hello.
Awesome to have you all. In today's program, our experts are going to dive into the details of the looming tariffs, what that means for your business, what challenges and opportunities lie ahead for importers in both Canada and the U.S. So without further ado, let's get started. Some of the questions have been coming into our hotline, which for listeners is 888-908-6638, or you can email us at tariffquestions@pcbglobaltrade.com. So speakers, tell me, what is the current status of tariffs?
Well, in Canada, we learned yesterday that there was a pause. So we're getting a 30-day pause until things kick back up again. At this point, we're anticipating things to kind of arrive at that date and be fairly similar to what they were slated to be originally. But it's going to be a long 30 days of kind of waiting to find out what that looks like.
Yeah. For the U.S., so although the tariffs for Canada and Mexico were paused, the Chinese tariffs are still in full swing. That 10% did go into effect at 9 p.m. Pacific time last night, midnight. And so we're definitely seeing the impact of those. We are expecting to maybe see either an increase, possibly. We don't expect to see a pause on those like we did with Canada and Mexico. Beijing did retaliate back, and there's some other filings in the WTO court. So those who are importing goods from China and Hong Kong, that was included in that measure, are really feeling the impact of those today. And definitely many people thought it was going to be similar to 301, where there'd be an exclusion process, and there's not. So they got them in full swing.
And what's happening with the low value, the Section 321 shipments?
So your de minimis 321, or for those of you, if you're used to filing those, say under like a type 86 entry, there's now no longer de minimis for China. So every single, even if it's worth 10 cents, $1, you still have to make entry on it. It is still, if you have $1 shipment, you're going to be paying $0.25 in duty, or 10 cents in duty. So that is another big kind of shift with this policy. And to note, it is on top of all existing duties. So on top of the normal line rate, on top of the 301, that 10% is on top of that. So it was by far a duty increase for all of the Chinese products.
It's on top of the 301 duties. Yeah. So how can a client tell if their goods are impacted by tariffs?
The best way, I mean, it's a little bit for both, but definitely for the U.S. perspective, you want to do probably a product review right off the bat. It is all Chinese products. There was the only exclusions they gave were for things like donations, personal importations, meaning you went and made a purchase and you are bringing it back. If you're putting those on a truck, that's not considered personal. That's commercial. Those exceptions. But I would take a look at your classifications. The biggest way to tell the impact is to look at your valuation. So what we've been recommending for people to do is either go back to last year or the last 3 months before this hit, look at what your import value is, and then add that 10% on top of that. Because in addition to duties, there's some other impacts like to your bond. right?
Right.
Canada, right, where your guys' bond pays your duty in the US, that's not the case. It doesn't pay the duty. And you can saturate those bonds really, really quickly when these tariffs go up. So check your bond, check your valuation, and see if there's any kind of relief you can find in there. If you're claiming things in your valuation, say you're making a freight is included in your invoice value, you might be able to find some duty savings there. But there's many other different things that you can look at. Valuation is very big. It's a very big topic. So you want to look at all the nitty gritty of that.
Also a good time to do a deep dive into what you have been doing. Even though you've been doing it that way forever, it's a good time to take a look at it, see if there's anything you can adjust to make a difference.
Yeah, and I would say for anyone that's in this 30-day pause, maybe you don't import Chinese goods, do it for your Canadian and Mexican products now, right? Do it now. Take the time now so you know what to expect, and it doesn't just hit you when that March 1st date comes around.
Yeah, and I think we'd say, echo a lot of the same things. I mean, there's a 30-day pause, which allows you a bit of time to kind of dig into those things now where, just yesterday, you weren't really having that opportunity. You can look at the classifications, look at getting rulings on specific products, or perhaps sourcing from other places that might not have such as a heavy impact. So lots of time to do the upfront work.
Yeah, we are expecting should these tariff surtaxes go forwards, that the Canadian action will be the similar or the same to what was proposed and put on pause yesterday, where Canada has a list of HS codes of goods that are subject. So making sure your goods are classified properly is really, really important, because if they're misclassified, you could be paying surtax when you don't need to, should surtaxes hit. And that will say, so doing that deep dive exercise to make sure your classifications are solid will be able to help you also project how much surtax you may have to pay.
And it does in Canada, it was proposed to apply to personal shipments as well. There wasn't an exemption for that. So, if you're considering making any, purchases in the next term, then you want to make sure that you've considered that, or depending on the shipping date and whether it's before and after those 30 days, like really take a look kind of closely at things.
Yeah, and to add to that, like Breanna said, that in the US, de minimis doesn't apply. So you have to pay regardless of your value. Canada's still allowing de minimis, but our de minimis is way lower than the US's. The maximum allowance for a reduction of duty or tax payout is $150 for certain products or certain shipments coming from the United States and Mexico. In general, it's only $20 that are completely exempt from duty tax. So while we're still allowing it, there's also the ability for Canada to disallow it as a reciprocal action to what the US has done.
And I would say too, like, that's a really good kind of to lay it out, is that we are in a period of trade war, right? This is just kind of the first battle in what is probably going to be a grand adventure in trade. And don't just assume that whatever Canada has put in for protocols automatically match the US or vice versa, or anywhere else. You really want to get into each specific country that you're importing goods into, and make sure that you understand the specific rules for that country.
And that brings us to the next question that we've been hearing a lot of. If my goods are shipped from one of these countries but not made in, are they subject to additional tariffs?
From the Canadian side, the surtax order was really clear that it was goods that were eligible to be marked a product of United States. So if it wasn't made in the US or eligible to be marked as made in the US, then you weren't going to have to pay surtax. But they were also very clear that it doesn't matter where those goods shipped from. So you couldn't try to circumvent the surtax by sending your US goods to Mexico and then having them shipped direct to Canada. It was regardless of where it was shipped from. So shipping from anywhere in the world, if it was made from US, if the HS code was on the list, you were paying that 25% unless it was a really super low value shipment that was able to take advantage of de minimis.
I hear that a lot. Yeah, my goods I brought them in from China, but I shipped them from Canada. So what's the country of origin? I mean, so basically the country of origin is still going to be China unless there's been some major change to it, correct?
Yeah. And you know, a mentor I had long ago had a kind of a saying is expect duty every time it circles a flagpole, no matter what flagpole it's circling. And that's kind of the rule of thumb. For the US, right now, yes, it is country of origin, but keep in mind, these were imposed under an emergency action measure. So it's very unlike some of the other trade remedy things that we saw in 301 or 232 or even anti-dumping or base rates. And so there was some indication that they were going to be giving a revised definition of what origin meant if they were going to include things like country of shipment. For right now, it's country of origin. That's where they're being levied at, is at the country of origin base. And I can tell you right now, the number of inspections that we are likely going to see is going to go way up, because country of origin is one of the number one things that all ports for all modes search for and examine for, is to ensure proper country of origin was declared.
Great, good point. So USMCA and CUSMA, is that still valid with these? Does it supersede these tariffs?
Well, it's still alive. It's still there.
But it doesn't supersede them. Just because something qualifies under CUSMA does not say you're not going to pay surtaxes. There are two separate trade mechanisms that are enacted under different parts of law in our different countries. So yes, you could be duty-free under USMCA or CUSMA, but you're still going to pay the surtax if they come into effect.
And a really
So
good
it's like
example of that was when the 232s hit on Canadian goods, is that even if those goods qualified previously for USMCA, they still qualified. It's just those trade remedy duties, that action, that surtax is on top of that. So maybe if you're saving 5% with a CUSMA USMCA claim, that just means that you would be paying 25% if these hit instead of 30.
Instead of 30, right. Yeah. Back to the Chinese method where they're paying the 301 duties plus the duty plus the surtax now.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do they see the tariffs? Like when they see the tariffs, how will they pay them?
So you're going to see them on your invoice for the US, just speaking for the US side, you're going to see them on your invoice for service. So we will send you the invoice once we calculate out what your duty will be. You will either be asked to prepay those prior to release, or, you know, depending on whatever payment arrangements we have. We've really been recommending clients get ACH, get on ACH direct payment, which for anyone who just moved over to CARM, it kind of feels like a natural progression to that. The benefit of that is that when you combine ACH with a payment schedule with the government, instead of, you know, having to panic on each and every shipment, you're then able to set your payment date once a month with the government, right? And you get reporting and all those types of things to see what you do. It's a much better way to get kind of control of what you're shipping and how much duty that you owe, and make sure that those shipments keep moving through.
And does ACH eliminate disbursement, credit card fees, that kind of thing?
As far as what we charge on our invoice, yes. I can't speak for maybe what banks would let for the transactions, but yeah, for some of those, if for your service provider you're paying a disbursement fee or those additional kind of payment collection, handling, fund transfer fees, this is a cost savings for you because you're then just paying the government direct.
Right. And in control of it to pay them directly and not through the broker, to make sure that it's actually getting paid to the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit of a difference between the way things line up in Canada. So the split will be between commercial and personal. So the commercial will be, the payments are made through the client CARM portal. And then on the personal declarations, because those are on the broker's BN, those are generally invoiced through our invoice. And again, on terms of credit or collected up front. And you would see that additional amount on our invoice.
It'll all be paid through the CARM portal under their business number.
For commercial, and then for personal, it's processes through us because it's on our business number. So we would be collecting those payments up front, making sure that everything is remitted and taken care of.
Noted. Okay. Beautiful. That was a lot of information. Thank you, ladies. Anything else you want to add before we sign off for the day? Because we will be back tomorrow with more updates.
Just a reminder to everyone that the situation's fluid. It's basically changing day to day. So keep your eyes on the trade news, sign up to our newsletters, check our website, because what we said now, somebody can post something on social media in 5 minutes that could make a change to.
Right, exactly. It is a very fluid situation. And because the 30-day pause has happened doesn't mean it's not going to come back. It just means we've got a minute.
And I'd say if there was ever a situation that really highlighted the importance of partnering with your trade vendors, with your trade partners, these are the type of scenarios. So it's the staying connected, not just to see what's happening kind of outside, but also make sure, for your broker, you're letting us know what changes that you're making from a business standpoint because of these duties, right? If you find a new supplier in that country of origin changes, or you negotiate a different contract which changes your value, you really want to make sure that you're partnering with your broker so that they're filing your declarations accurately.
Yeah, we are your partner in this. We don't have firsthand knowledge of what you do, so you have to communicate with us, imperatively to communicate with us any changes.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, ladies. We hope everyone's enjoyed this episode of Trade Routes. If you have any questions, comments, or thoughts for our next episode, please feel free to reach out to us at tariffquestions@pcbglobaltrade.com. They could be answered next time here on our show. As always, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter, as Gloria has mentioned, and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook so you don't miss any future updates. Until next time, thank you.